Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third-party review. Thanks to the guys over at TF Direct. Today I'm taking a slightly early look at the first offering from the guys over at Cloud9. This is QUAKEBLAST. Now, firstly, you can indeed be forgiven for thinking this is QUAKEWave. The similarities are scarily similar. There is a huge discussion thread on the subject, and people are accusing it of being basically a reshelled knockoff of QUAKEWave. I'm not entirely sure if this is the case, but first impressions, this guy is as solid, if not more solid, than a lot of the Fans Toys figures that I own. Now here he is with QUAKEWave. Again, I got this figure from TF Direct as well, so the options are there. And of course I do have the Takara Shockwave on order as well. They are very, very similar. Now of course this is the reissue, and I've heard from a few people that it's not quite as good as the original, so please bear that in mind when I'm doing the comparisons. I really like the QUAKEBLAST. I love how robust he is. I love that big, stocky image there with those chunky shoulders. I'm not a fan of the clear hands. And of course we get the replacement hands that come with the Fans Toys version. I prefer the chunky legs. I think they've done the legs a lot better. I believe it was Pure broke his gun on his. If you look closely on my gun, I actually have a bubble in there. I'm not entirely sure how the bubbles got in there, but my gun is all in one piece. I don't have any batteries to put in here, but he does have a light on his eye there. He has one on the chest, and he does have one in the gun. You can, of course, remove the backpack section as well to slim down his back apparel, and his arm is instantly up the correct way with the double jointed elbow with the hose coming underneath, whereas my QUAKEWave's hose is on top and the joint is that way up. Always hated that. Now, my wife doesn't really care for Transformers that much at all. She tolerates me having them, which is fair enough. But I was discussing the whole QUAKEWave, Shockwave, QUAKEBLAST thing with her, and before she fell asleep through boredom, she actually informed me that she prefers the look of the Fans Toys one. But when I showed her the G1 cartoon, she did agree that the QUAKEBLAST from Cloud9 does resemble Shockwave just a fraction more than what QUAKEWave does. Now, those of you that have been following my Facebook page would have probably seen this shot already, and of course, this trio is simply logical. Here he is with Galvatron comparing their guns, and here he is with Optimus talking politics. Right, let's take a look at the articulation. The head can look up and down, can go left and right quite freely. Come to the shoulders can go up and down on a lovely ratchet there. They can go all the way around on a nice friction joint, and they can also pivot inwards and outwards again on a nice ratchet. We have upper bicep rotation. We have 1 and 2 bends at the elbow. The wrist does rotate, and the fingers are individually hinged in 2 places and mounted on a ball, allowing for them to pivot. And thumb again is on a ball, albeit the ball is very loose and again pinned in 2 places. The waist, like QUAKEWave, can pull up, although it is extremely more difficult to do so. The hose does also have a tendency to pop out of the gun. The waist does rotate on a nice ratchet. The legs can come out to the side, but weight and gravity does tend to bring them back down. They can come forwards this much, back that much. We have an upper thigh swivel, we have a swivel at the knee, and we have a 90-degree bend at the knee. Coming down to the feet, we have pivot, left and right. We have forward and backwards rocker, and we have forwards and independent motion on the toe. Now let's get this guy transformed up. If you know how to transform QUAKEWAVE, you can pretty much figure this guy out. I didn't get a set of instructions with him as he was a pre-production sample, but it is pretty straightforward. First of all, you will notice we do get a hardened cap section we can put on him. Or of course, we can have his backpack section which folds inside out. The first steps are to grab the shoulders and just to move them upwards. So this entire section comes fully up, so they are either side of his head. You also want to compress his fists completely down because we're going to fold those into the arm shortly. Come to the underside here, and unlike the Fans Toys version which had a nice easy to access flap, this one's slightly sunken in because they've given him more width. So you have to try and get your nails under there. I found the easiest way is to go in under the armpit and lift that up. Same with this side, go in under the armpit and lift that out. That now allows this entire chest section to pull forwards. You can then move the head downwards into the chest cavity and then bring this chest section back up and secure those sections into place. Flip open the tab on the back of the arm, swing the fist inwards, and then close that back off. Rotate the shoulder around and bring that up so it's in the middle. And then these tab sections are going to tab in to the side of the other gun, and we can compress those all together. And then this laser section on top here, apply a little bit of force and that slides over into the center. If you haven't already disengaged this backpack section, then pull it off now. It's just tabbed in underneath this section here, and you're going to be required to pull this section down and tab that back in. Compress the feet just like the Fans Toys version. You want to do the heel spurs first, push those in, blend the foot round, and as you bring that round, straighten it up so it sits flat. You can then come round to the side leg sections, and you want to just pull those out and up. Same with this side, pull it out and untab this section on the back. This is actually an additional section that the Fans Toys version does not have. It's on a double hinge. Rock this hinge down and bring the white tab section down. And basically there's these two pegs here. This section is going to rock, slide and pull down and tab into the side. That now allows us to bring this trigger section all the way up and over to the back. Again on the side, all the way up and over. And then you want to rotate the legs at the knee. Do that with both legs. And now we can peg these two sections together and peg the handles together. As we close these handles together, make sure you pull out this trigger section. We're then going to collapse the legs by pushing down onto the knees, and this whole section here will slide, although it does tend to want to split apart more than what we get with the Fans Toys version. Compress the upper torso as well, and then bring this trigger section up and locate it on the underside to lock and secure this part of the transformation in place. Lift this section up and over like so, And then, as a matter of preference, depending on what you're after, if you're after a more G1 toy accurate image, you can bring in the hardened gun shell, which literally lines up, slides down, locates, he says, slides down, locates, and tabs into place, like so. That's more of a G1 toy accurate image. Of course, we can do the same with this that we get with QUAKEWAVE. Pull these sections apart, bring it round, stick this section up. There's actually a nice solid tab on here which locates, which is a very nice addition. So bring that round, and this here will plug in to the underside of the gun area. And again, that can come up and over, and close off, and that can form the gun section. Now you will notice there is nothing here which would apply pressure to the actual cannon, reducing the risk of the plastic cannon section being broken during the transformation. So there we have it, guys. There they are, both fully transformed. I prefer the look of QUAKEBLAST, but the transformation did feel somewhat smoother with QUAKEWAVE. He's the original. He's what most of the design is based off. There's no escaping that. The transformation is pretty much identical with a few overshelling and modifications. But I do prefer the look of this guy. He is just a big, chunky beast. It's times like this I wish I had one of the hair of the dog QUAKEWAVE stands, because that would do me a treat to have this guy positioned as a gun on the shelf. It's fantastic. The hose is completely terrible. It keeps popping out. It is rubbish. I know people had problems with the QUAKEWAVE hose breaking, so I'm assuming that maybe they've had this really loose just to avoid it breaking, but it's frustrating. It kept popping out during the transformation, and it was just a complete nuisance. I do like the idea of having this additional cap on the top here. As much as I love these sections here, I prefer the fact that nothing interferes with the actual clear gun turret. Because it's a clear plastic, there was always that fear of it breaking, and this totally avoids that. A couple of other small additions. If you notice there is actually a flick down trigger. It doesn't do anything, but it's nice to have a little trigger there. And I've also used the second gun section as a temporary stand. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as the hair of the dog set, but I think it kind of works. And he's a big gun. Right, guys and gals, final thoughts. If you own the Fans Toys version of this figure, is it worth getting? No, it is not. Although it is a very good figure, highly robust and extremely well made, there's not really much point in you having them both, unless of course you are a Shockwave fanatic. If I had the choice of the two, which would I buy? I would go with the QUAKEBLAST. I prefer the robust reshell, and I prefer how he looks and feels in his gun mode. I will of course be getting the Takara version, so I'll be able to compare all three, and that does look very good, but I think QUAKEWAVE and QUAKEBLAST both pulled off the legs better than what Takara appear to have done. I hope you found the video useful. Thanks again to the guys over at TF Direct for the hookup, and until next time from myself and Shockwave, goodbye.